telework scenarios, easily integrated with collaboration tools of your choice. It delivers flexibility, efficiency, and continuity of operations to growing small and mid-market organizations. Acumatica Cloud ERP provides the best management solution for digitally resilient companies. As your day unwinds, Acumatica is available to you on any of your devices that can access the internet. So we can be doing approvals while we're standing at our kids' soccer games in the afternoon. Thank you for recognizing that one, Derek. I wanted to, oh, for some reason, this quadrant didn't come up. There we go. So Nucleus Research is an independent group that studies all the ERP systems out there and rates them in their effective areas in different parts of the business. And vendors in the leaders quadrant have invested in both functionality and usability features that are likely to deliver the greatest potential returns. These vendors have both diverse and comprehensive product offerings, which enable organizations to maximize ROI and the resources to help organizations deploy large-scale applications. With high functionality and usability scores, these vendors are recognized for relatively advanced capabilities across all core application areas, user interaction methods, and other factors that contribute to quicker deployment and user adoption. So you'll notice that for the past 6 years, Acumatica has been recognized #1 in usability. And this is critical for implementations. Any of you that have been through an implementation of an ERP system, the most important part is getting your folks to use it. If folks just refuse to engage, then the whole system or the whole project was a waste of time. We're going to talk about total impact of Acumatica. There is a study, and you'll see the link down there in yellow. I'd encourage you to go to this link. Forrester actually spoke with 4 Acumatica clients and found out what type of ROI they received from switching over to the Cloud ERP Acumatica, and they increased their gross margins for gains of $1.3 million, reallocated 50% of IT time, saving $614,300. They increased sales volume by 15%, boosting revenue by $471,000, and eliminated legacy licensing costs for savings up to $464,000. If you go to this site or this link, you'll also get an opportunity. There's a calculator that you can go through, put in your information, and it'll calculate the potential ROI on an Acumatica ERP implementation. And this is the page that it'll take you to, and you can see it's pretty simple. You can just start filling it out. Excuse me. Now let's get on to our star of our show, a brief summary of who Power Storage Solutions is. They deliver optimized power solutions for businesses of all sizes. Comprehensive services coupled with their team of product experts provide a true single source supplier for all of your power needs. And it's my honor at this point to introduce, you have already heard his voice, Derek Elledge, Vice President of Operations at Power Storage Solutions. Thank you for joining us today, Eric. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, great. I'm grateful that you're here. And if you don't mind, I'm going to kick it off with just a couple questions for you, and we'll just keep this really conversational. So Power Storage Solutions is using Acumatica Cloud ERP. Can you share with us, the folks that are attending this today, why you chose Acumatica?
Absolutely. So me and 2 other partners were running Interstate Power Care at Interstate Batteries when they elected to spin it off, and we decided to pull our resources and buy the company. And so when we looked at what Interstate had done and how we were trying to run the business over there, we knew right away there were some things that we didn't want to do. We were running on 6 different operating systems. Oracle was our accounting, Salesforce.com for CRM and quoting, S2000 for planning our projects and running our service, Concur for the expenses, Workforce for time management, and then PowerDB for running and keeping up with all of our customers' equipment. And we had these 6 different systems that were best in class, but when you tried to combine them together, we were always off on what was real data, real facts, and the timeliness of that integration was horrible. And so it made it very, very hard to run a business with that. Even though we were using best in class individual parts, running a business that was always delayed and people were arguing over which system had the right number made it difficult. So when we started our search, we knew we wanted, first and foremost, one system that could handle all of the services we needed from quote to cash. And then the second thing that we knew that we wanted is we wanted a cloud-based ERP. So our team could get on anywhere they're wanting to work, anywhere they can get a connection, and they did not have to go behind a firewall to get access to the data. We have a lot of service guys. We have 40 service guys working in 46 different states, and we have a team of 17 salespeople that are always on the road. And if they couldn't get into the interstate, behind the interstate firewall, things slowed down tremendously. So we kind of took what we didn't want and then started looking for what we did want. And that's how we found Acumatica, which met every single one of the criteria we were looking for.
And that was back in 2017. Is that right,
We
Derek?
started the process in 2018. We were awarded the bid to buy the company in 2018, and we were told in March that we won it, and they were turning the business over to us in April. So wow. We kind of began the process of at least looking at the beginning of 2018, but we didn't make a selection because we'd actually lost the bid, and then the first buyer fell through, and then we were awarded the bid, and that's we really accelerated things then.
I'm curious to know if you guys had part of your business plan, a pandemic coming at you and forced working remotely.
No, but luckily we, at the very, very beginning, we wanted to have that flexibility. So we knew from the very beginning, we wanted to be flexible enough that we could work from anywhere and have our team work from anywhere. So we were well positioned once the pandemic hit. We did not miss a beat because it didn't matter. As long as they had a connection, we didn't have any, we could continue to work. Now, we had a little bit more trouble with the Texas ice storm than we did the pandemic.
Yes, we suffered some outages up here that made it hard to connect without any power. But that's a question for ERCOT, not for us. So talking about users, you've got a lot that are remote based, and I showed a slide earlier on Nucleus Research about user ability with Acumatica. It's such a risk in choosing a new ERP system, and it is a disruption to your business to go through the change or the implementation. How did your users respond to adopting the Acumatica solution?
Well, our adopters responded extremely quickly, but we also had a little bit of advantage. We had no choice. When we took over the business, we had until December, the end of December of 2018, to use and operate interstate system. So we had to migrate really quick, and we pretty much started the migration process in September and went live December 1st. But we then pretty much killed the legacy system starting January 1st. So our adoption rate was really good because of that. But on the feedback that we got from the team as they were migrating on, and as we were teaching and the lessons and how to use Acumatica, was consistently how much easier this is to use, how intuitive it is. This makes so much sense. And wow, look, I can tie everything together. I can see where the salesperson quoted it, that ties to this, ties to the sales order, that ties to the drop shipment PO, that ties to the freight that goes in when it ships, and it pulls it right in. And everything was all seamless throughout the system. And anything that pretty much anybody wanted to know was within 2 to 3 clicks. So our team really adopted into this fast, and were amazed at how seamless our business had become coming off the 6 systems that we had.
It's actually, I mean, it's phenomenal for anybody out there on the tech side, 60 days to make that migration and then not be running parallel, just cut off. That's incredible. I mean, boy, that's a leap of faith for anything, right?
Okay. Yes, and our accountant was extremely pleased. He is probably our controller. He was probably the happiest person when that happened, after working on all those different systems and trying to tie things together. I mean, it would take us about 60 days to close a cycle. When we first went live, it took him about 60 days to close the first cycle, because he was constantly just double checking the accuracy, making sure we had all the accounts pointing. But then it went, 60 days to 30 days to 20 days to 15. Now we close consistently within 5 business days. And the amount of information at our fingertips is just, it becomes so easy once you get it up and running and everything's running smoothly and pointed in the right direction.
Well, that kind of steals the thunder of the next question I was going to ask you, but maybe you can find some more. I was going to ask you about the benefits that you've seen since moving all your systems to the cloud.
Yeah, so actually the largest benefit was not well, my controller would tell you the largest benefit was what I would describe, but I think the largest business thing for us was we now had everybody in the company on the same system, operating on the same information, and making decisions from the same data. And so it allowed us to quickly analyze where we were strong, where we were weak, and then have better and more accurate data-driven conversations about how we need to improve in certain areas. And so from that standpoint, all the way from, our technicians to our controller is all on the systems. So we were able to just accelerate process improvements. And then we were able to put in the Acumatica has amazing dashboard capabilities. So we were able to put in these dashboard capabilities that quickly allowed us to see where we were doing well and what areas we needed to focus on. That to me as VP of operations was the most powerful thing that Acumatica brought to us.
And boy, I agree with you with those dashboards. It's such a great graphic representation of your real-time data, or the version of the truth, one version of the truth with your company. And those things that's if anybody hasn't seen the dashboards, I would recommend taking a look. Thank you for mentioning that, Derek. What type of positive impact did you see with revenues or costs once you started using it for a while?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that we saw is we always knew there was a lot of margin improvement, but we were always arguing over where the issues were and where the dollars were being spent or not being spent. And the data being so latent, people weren't able to respond to it. So with all of our projects now, at the very close of it, within 1 week, we can now see a gross profit analysis on project by project. So we started really focusing on that and getting the service managers and the sales team talking to each other, and then working out, okay, here's where things were quoted well, and we did things better than expected, and here's where we need improvement in that communication, and these guys not pointing the finger at, hey, here's where sales is wrong, here's where service is wrong, because they were using the same data. It drove better quoting at the very beginning. So, and we within the first year of Acumatica, we took our overall average margins on the company up 13 points, and we didn't do anything different than allow and facilitate a path for our service managers and our sales team to talk to each other and see where things were going well and not going well. And it drove better communication down to the service guys, so they knew exactly what they were doing and had everything that they needed when they got there. And then it drove back to the sales team a better understanding of when they were quoting it to get it right up front. And that's a big impact on a small company. You know, when you can drive 13 points of revenue and not change anything other than communication.
That's amazing. I mean, is it safe to say it's almost like putting away your firefighting equipment and you can get back to doing your job?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, we don't, and then this is not where we're focusing as much anymore, right? Because we now have this operating systems, and we now have these conversations. Our margins are now at a consistently high level, around 32 points from 17. And now it allows us now to focus on growth. And so now we're changing our direction of how we're using Acumatica. It was for accounting and operations and inventory. Now we're changing our directions with Acumatica of better CRM, customer service relationship and management, which our sales team loves compared to Salesforce. And now we're focusing on leads and lead generation and marketing, and we can do that within the platform also. It's so as we're evolving, Acumatica has already evolved ahead of me. I just need to understand what they've done and then start implementing it into my business to take advantage of that growth.
You just brought up a point I hadn't thought about in a while, but I did see you in Vegas at the Acumatica Summit. They do 2 releases per year, or usually March or April, and then we've got one coming up here probably at the end of September.
Yep.
With innovation, what have you seen? I mean, are you surprised by the amount of new features they add per release?
I am. I think that's one of the challenges as a business, that you got to start changing your mindset that you can evolve and develop your business because your platforms are evolving and developing at a pace that is probably faster than you can. So one of the big things that we got to do, and we do this every year, going into the years, we decide what can we take on that's going to have an impact on our business, and how do we develop that so we can track, measure it, and operate it through Acumatica. So Acumatica pace of innovation is beyond what we can. I can't take on everything that they do. We just don't have the resources. But so this year's focus for us was implementing a extremely good CRM and an extremely good leads generation And we're finding things like one of the things that we really love is what they call campaigns inside of that. And so now that the trade shows are coming back online, we're setting up campaigns for trade shows that allow us to track our trade show budget. And then we put all of our leads in there that we got from the trade show. And then it shows our return on investment from the trade show. And then I can also then assign those leads to the salesperson, and I can see that they're calling upon them, and I can see that they're converting them or closing them out as bad leads. And that's a powerful tool, and it's not so intrusive that I get too much pushback from sales of doing it, which is that's always been a challenge of any business, is getting your sales team that are how do you want to say, they're very personal, interrelational, and they don't like necessarily the day-to-day clicking, but Acumatica seemed to have found a very good balance there.
That's great. And as a representative of all salespeople out there, I know what you were trying to say. We are divas, but this allows, so this is, from my experience, we're not having to do as many entries, right? I mean, a lot of it's being
Yes.
recorded without having to do an expense report at the end of the week and logging all your calls. It's all being done internally. And I don't know if you noticed that one of the big releases for CRM coming up here at the next release, R2, they're going to be able to see if the emails that they're sending out have been opened. So that's
Yeah,
that's
our
kind of
guys
cool to me.
love that. Yes.
It's nice and powerful. At least you know if somebody's intentionally ignoring you or just not getting your emails as a sales guy. So tell us about your, so we're at Worth Clients First Business Solutions, and Acumatica is partner based. So Acumatica doesn't have a direct sales force. You chose to work with Clients First Business Solutions. How did that conversion go for you and your relationship with Clients First?
So that was good. It was good. Very, very good, in fact. We had a little bit of so Clients First introduced us to Acumatica. And we were ready to go. We knew we had a timeline. Clients First came to us and said, look, I don't necessarily have the resources right this minute to start on it. And so we pushed to go to another VAR. And we ended up with 2 other VARs. And then we went back to Clients First and said, look, we made a mistake. We should have waited for your timeline. I really appreciated the fact that they were honest and forthright with us on their resources at the time. Fortunately, you guys have grown a ton since then, by the way. But when we came back and we sat down and Clients First came to us and said, look, okay, we know what your timeline is. We're back to where we would have started anyways. We know we can get it done. And so after going through 2 other experiences with other VARs, we came back to Clients First. They put the appropriate resources on it. They worked at the pace we needed them to work at. And they provided extremely good guidance on what Acumatica was doing and how it was done and how it fit into our business flow. And so then once we started in the process, I mean, they were right alongside us. I mean, and when it came down to crunch time and we were working Saturdays and Sundays and working 12-hour days, they were right there with us. And I cannot say enough about the implementation process and the way Clients First supported us and how we were able to launch successfully. We would not have been able to do it without them. And still gives me goosebumps just talking about it, how well this team had supported us.
And I get the same, those little goose pimples, because, you know, I'm representing them on the front line when I'm doing my sales, and it's easy to do. All those folks that worked with you are still with us. We have no turnover on the Acumatica team. and everybody's US based. So, we can work within usually reach you on your working hours. It's been a good experience for me too, but thank you for sharing that feedback with regards to our implementation team. For those that are out there, I'm assuming that some of the folks tuned in today are considering options, who to choose, and it'd be foolish just to pick one ERP without looking around and seeing how they compare. Do you have any recommendations to anybody that's out there evaluating systems and partners?
Yeah, I do. The first thing that I really recommend is really understanding your overall implementation and operations cost. And one of the things that we learned very quickly is a lot of these companies have licensing fees for every single employee. So that tends to drive a budget limitation on how many people you can have on your system. One of the great things about Acumatica is that there was no limitation. So that was one of our big drivers in choosing Acumatica, is because we could put everybody on the system. So we can run payroll and we can run scheduling, and our techs can see exactly what the site walkthrough notes were. So we didn't have to choose who was operating on it like we did when we were over at Interstate. And so that's, in fact, we've started to put a couple of our key partners onto the system so they can see some information to help them plan their factories better. So it's so that's one of the things I'd really highly encourage. The other thing is most of the systems out there that I've seen tend to work extremely well in certain aspects of the business. They're really great at accounting, or they're really great at scheduling, or they're really great at quoting. I would recommend you look at something that can run your whole business on one platform. I think if you can find something, even if it's not best in class at everything, it's more important to have everything in one location running on one system, because then you don't have to integrate. And I think Acumatica is obviously best in class on user I forget the name of it.
Interface.
Interface. Yeah. But you may not, Acumatica is built on a core accounting platform, but it can handle all the way from leads to cash, and then generating reoccurring business. That's the thing that I think is important, is that it may not be the best in class CRM, or it may not be the best in class service management that I can get out there, but it's great in all of those aspects. And I'd rather have great in several categories than best in class and then nothing in something else. That's my opinion.
Right. And you had mentioned earlier you had 6 disparate systems, and I'm assuming they were all charging you annually?
Oh, yes. Yes. Every one of them was charging me.
So I assume that had an impact and probably allowed you to consolidate the budget for tech and probably bring it down a little.
Yeah. Interstate had this huge, we had probably 15 IT people, that we were working with. And over here we have 1.
That's fantastic.
And, the other, we had to go in and we've done, we had to talk to a lot of banks and a lot of funding as we were rolling in and as we were growing the company. And one of the things that we were told every single time by the banks that came in and we were talking to is they were amazed at how simple and how quickly we could get financial information out to them. And then when they're sitting in front of us, just like seeing how quickly we could click through and find that information.
That's great. I don't have any other questions I was going to ask you. We were trying to keep this on a shorter timeline today, just because we're thankful to have your time, but we don't want to use up too much of it, Derek. I do have a few questions that we were going to hit to people that hit in the chat bar. Nancy, did you?
Yeah, since I've been introduced. Derek, we mentioned the upgrade process with Acumatica. And, our consultants say it's not really a big deal. It's the easiest upgrades they've ever done. And, you don't have to do 2 a year. I think you have to be updated every 18 months. But can you talk about the upgrade processes that you've gone through? Has it been painful in any way?
So yes, I'll be glad to. So for us, we upgrade every January, and that has been our rule. And then so what we do is we go in and we get a sandbox from Acumatica. We engage clients first in this process because we only have one IT person, and so clients first helps us migrate all of our information over to the sandbox and do the upgrade. So clients first does almost all of the upgrade for us. And then we are not a big customization. I try to avoid them as much as possible, but we do have some customizations to our business, as I expect most people will. So we then work with clients first to put those customizations in. And then we go through and we roll it out to our team, and we take last year's orders and then we process a handful of all of our different types of orders, all the way from quote to cash, all the way through. And we look for bugs, and we look for problems, or we look for maybe a little bit of connectors have changed a small bit. But in general, we will do all of that within a 60-day period, and then we go live. And then within the first 15 to 20 days, we probably find a couple of smaller bugs that we missed during the process, but nothing major. And then we're ready and rocking and rolling by the end of first quarter.
Okay.
And it's been really simple, really easy. The biggest thing is usually just there's a few things, kind of like when Microsoft updates, you got to get used to maybe pointing and clicking in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
But and then the next thing is more, how do I implement those changes? So I have a weekly meeting with our Acumatica guy here, and we have a tick list of all the items that we want to take advantage of that is in that new release, and we start to work those throughout the year.
So no huge invoices, right, from services or anything like that?
No huge. I like the fact that I'm on a 3-year contract with Acumatica, so I know exactly what my expenses are going to be for the next 3 years. The other thing that I really like is Acumatica has I forget what the customer
Success.
No, it's a
Well, they've got the
Bill of
users
Rights.
group. Oh yeah,
They
the
got
bill
the
of rights.
customer bill of rights, and that it's really, if you haven't looked it up, look up the Acumatica customer bill of rights, or maybe Bob can send it to you. And they have this bill of rights around their company about how they are going to be customer oriented and customer service. And in that bill of rights, they show that they will not gouge you on price increases. And I think they cap it at 3% a year, if I remember right.
They do. That's correct.
And I can tell you that was not the fact when I got onto Salesforce Configure Price Quote. As soon as our contract ran out, it was expensive to renew.
Okay.
So.
And no costly service invoices, right, for the upgrade? Is that typically?
No, I mean,
Very
well,
smooth.
yeah, that's so we spent quite a bit of money with clients first up front during the implementation process.
Mhm.
That should be expected. I don't know. We did it in 2018, so I don't know what they're charging now. But I mean, there's a chunk of resources that you got to pay for. And then it's what for us, we got onto clients first, and we keep them on retainer. And our amount that we spend over the years is slowly gone down as my in-house guy, IT, has gotten better and more familiar with Acumatica, and we keep but they continue to stay on board to help us out. And our amount of spend with clients versus continues to go down. I know it's probably not what Nancy wants to hear, but then every now and then it's like if we want to bolt on another platform or we have a special customization, we bring clients first in for that specific task. We get it up to running, and then they drop back out in the support role. And
Right.
they're a great support team. It's like an extension of my own IT department.
Right. And we hear that often from customers, which is good to hear. So
Well, I think, and from my understanding, Nancy, it's kind of like trying to go to the government and ask for your tax return. It takes, some of these big publishers are so big that it's hard to go directly to them. So having a partner, not too far up the road from you, Derek, maybe a few hours, that we more responsive is what I understand a lot of these people appreciate.
Yeah. And the other thing is the responsiveness of Acumatica themselves. As large a company as that is, when COVID came on, I had 70 techs running around I had about 40 techs running around the country, as we were a critical infrastructure support. We had to keep hospitals and 911 and internet and telecommunications up and running. That's what we support with our DC power. So we had to move around the country, but we also had to do it safely. And I went to Acumatica and said, I have this need of knowing that my team is safe and they're not contracting or transmitting COVID. And I said, I have no budget for it. And they came up with a team that put together something called Acumatica surveys within 60 days that we launched. And it basically put out a push notification to the phone that asked every one of our guys, are they healthy? Do they have any signs of COVID? Have you come in contact with anybody? Are you running a fever? And they would log that every day. And so then that was fed back in and fed back out immediately if there was any trigger points to their manager. And now that survey, the last thing is starting to take off, and we're looking at other ways of using that to, for like customer service, after we complete a project, sending it out and saying, hey, how did we do? Did we leave the place clean? Did our technicians, do what you were expecting? So it's really cool to see how well this large company still cares about a small to middle-sized company.
It's great. Everybody maybe didn't get the formal introduction to Nancy Philby, but that's the beautiful voice on the other side, not me or Derek here. Are there any other questions, Nancy, before we let Derek go? I know there's a couple that came in on chat. Did you have anything?
Just and Bob, you may have to address these, but can I install this on my own server?
Oh man, it's funny. So I've had this conversation 3 times in the last week. People assume that if they put it on their server, it's not cloud-based, and that's simply not true. There are a lot of folks out there that still have requirements that they need to have the server on site, on-premise implementation, and Acumatica is they don't care which way you go with your implementation. If you go with the software as a service or SaaS then they're happy to accommodate that. If you want to have it on your servers, absolutely. It still performs. It's still out of you. It's web-based. So no matter where it is, you're still accessing it, excuse me, from the browser. So yes, absolutely, we can do on-premise.
And it's a pretty light footprint too.
Yes, yes, it doesn't need a dedicated server.
So I think, I mean, that was all that was here. I think we wanted to talk about our promotion, and of course, thank Derek. He's amazing. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Derek.
You're welcome very much.
Yeah, Derek, it's always a pleasure, and you've been really great, gracious with your time in the past and today, and thank you for taking the time to share your experience with everybody else on the call.
No problem. If there's any follow-up questions, let me know, and I'll be glad to help or answer any questions.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to close it out, Derek, and thank you. We do have webinars coming up. If you look at your screen, here's our next one in October, Empowering Your Hybrid Workforce. That will be on the 14th. So I'm sure it's a little early to wear masks, but we might be celebrating Halloween for that one too. Real versus fake cloud and why it matters in November, and choosing the right partner and software for your Cloud ERP project in December. If you have any interest, if there's anything that you'd like to follow up on with us, the contact information is on all the emails you received, as well as you can get it off of the screen right now. We are happy to discuss, walk you through anything. If you'd like to schedule a demo and see some of the things that Derek discussed today live and demonstrated for you and your team, we can schedule that. Other than that, Nancy, did I miss anything?
No, we do have 0% financing though till the end of September, which is coming up.
2 more
soon.
weeks, yes.
For 36 months, 0 interest on financing if you qualify, of course.
We've had a couple take advantage of that.
Yes,
recently,
we
so
have.
that's exciting. I mean, it's free money, 0% financing for 36 months, no interest. Other than that, hey, thank you, Derek. Thank you, Nancy, for always being here to make my life easy and being the best top salesperson in our company. And thank you everybody for attending today. Hope you enjoyed your lunch. We thank you for taking time, and hopefully we'll get a chance to speak with you individually offline. Once again, just please reach out. That's it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.